This is a presentation about a proposal what to do in the Middle East in October 2023, following the October 7, 2023. The biggest challenge and the real question of what is happening in the Middle East, Gaza and Israel these days, is to acknowledge the deep hatred on both sides and figure out how to live next to each other without bloodshed or with minimal bloodshed, and reluctantly accepting some form of coexistence. I'm Ofer Zur, a psychologist, an enmity and war expert, born in Israel in 1950, and a former lieutenant and a paratrooper in the Israeli army. I was wounded in 1973. I served in Gaza as well. During my military service, I was stationed in a refugee camp in Gaza back in 1970. And I remember one scene that really shaped my life in the refugee camp. I was walking with 8 soldiers, and suddenly we found ourselves surrounded by hundreds of kids that were closing us. So I put my soldiers in a circle with our guns facing the hundreds of kids closing on us, and they were yelling, throwing some rocks on us, and I knew that I had 2 choices, and I left my body and looked from above, and I told myself, you do have only 2 choices. You either shoot into this crowd of 12 years old, 14 years old, 18 years old, and kill dozens of them, or you're going to be eaten alive. Our rescue I heard slowly coming, but they have to go all around to get to us, and I didn't know if they'll get to us in time or I have to. So I'm looking above and tell myself, this is 2 really fucked up choices. And at this moment, 1970, me being 20 years old, I knew I have to leave Israel. I was watching with horror and deep sadness what happened now in 2003 in Gaza and in Israel, and remind me of what happened in the refugee camp. Knowing the region and knowing the complexity of its people, I'm proposing a solution for the current situation. The main challenge for Israelis and Palestinians is how to live nearby or have ceasefire with an enemy who wants to destroy you. Here are my views and a long-term proposal for the region. 1, Israel does not have a vote about whether or not a Palestinian, including Hamas, want to destroy it. The biggest challenge for Israelis would be how to live next to a hostile country bent on their destruction. This would be the challenge. Number 2, Israel should and just give Palestinians their own state. No more occupation, no more hateful settlers. Again, no more occupation, no more hateful settlers. A Palestinian state will include the West Bank and Gaza. Gaza and the West Bank will be connected via tunnel or bridge or any other appropriate means that satisfy both sides. The main reason for that is simply self-preservation for Israel. Occupation destroys the occupier. We have a long history of that. Number 4, Israel, with its superb military capacity, can protect itself if it chooses to, and not make it ridiculously easy as it did on October 7, 2023. I won't get into the question of how come hundreds of Hamas soldiers rode motorcycles and drove pickups, trucks through 90 plus opening in the fence or in the border. The obvious question that we'll not attend to here is, who did it serve to let hundreds of Hamas soldiers such an easy access to highly militarized and super-equipped Israel? Where were the Israeli soldiers and the satellites that's supposed to track enemy movement who easily enter into Israel and back into Gaza with hundreds of Israeli prisoners? We won't get into that, but this is a very, very important question. 5, the hope is that in 2-3 generation, yes, 2-3 generation, not 2-3 weeks, not 2-3 months, not even a few years, the situation will be de-escalate. Israel will be forgiven, an incentive on both sides for cooperation that will have developed. Not much difference that Protestant and Catholic in Ireland is from 1968 to 1998, 30 years of animosity. Similarly, probably if Israel gives the West Bank to the Palestinian, it is likely to be similar to the current situation between India and Pakistan that arose out of the 1947 partition of British India, which established a Muslim majority Pakistan and a Hindu majority India. They currently coexist with highly militarized border. Although both countries have maintained fragile ceasefire since 2003, they regularly exchange fire across the contested border. Both sides accuse the other of violating the ceasefire and claim to be shooting in response to attack. So my sense that it may be similar between Israel and Palestine that what happened between India and Pakistan. In fact, it's interesting for me personally. I rode motorcycle in Ladakh, India, in the Himalaya at 18,000 feet with my son a few years back. Not far from the border is Pakistan, and we felt safe. Israel may end up with friendly relationship with Palestine the way Israel has very friendly relationship with Jordan and Egypt. Or it may be more similar to India and Pakistan, tense but rather stable relationship. So there are all these options that livable and doable option. The big picture view and perspective. Getting 500 plus religious settlers out of the West Bank is not easy, but it's crucial and definitely doable. It's doable because the settlers, they have no economic base on the settlements. Money comes from outside, primarily from New York, and now from the Israeli government as well. They have light weapons, but they are not highly trained in using them. They can just kill one Palestinian at a time, but they cannot really fend for themselves. They rely on Israeli army to keep the highly guarded exclusive roads to Israel open. So it is doable to force them out of the West Bank, aka Palestine. In the same way that Israel currently lives with its enemy relationship in the north with Lebanon and Syria, so it will also learn to live similar with hostile Palestine. People continue to tell me when I propose it, oh, but they hate us, or they'll shoot at us. So we have the examples of Lebanon and Syria. They shoot into Israel, Israel shoot back. So I'm not being idealistic that it will be simple with Palestine, but we have this relationship with Lebanon and Syria. There are the enemies who want to destroy Israel. They can't destroy Israel. If Palestine want to destroy Israel, they may shoot into Israel. Israel will shoot back. It's a little bit more complex because Palestine will be closer than Lebanon and Syria to the entire state of Israel. So again, they'll bomb Israel, Israel will bomb back. Then in a couple of generations, there will be peace, hopefully, similar to Israel's current peaceful relationship with Jordan and Egypt, and the growing peace with Qatar and Saudi Arabia. So with all these thoughts, I am surprisingly hopeful. Thank you.